Welcome everyone tonight. Welcome to Makers Demo Day. My name is Leo. I'm one of the technical coaches who had the pleasure of seeing the developers that you're going to see tonight grow and learn over the last 3-4 months. We welcome to you joining online on Zoom, and also a few people with us on site as well in the new Makers office, which is exciting. We just moved there like a few weeks ago. We are gathered today to see the presentation of the project of the October 2022 cohort. So what I'm going to do first is that I'm going to say a few words about the cohort, and then each of the 3 teams will present in turn what they've been working on in the last 2 weeks. And finally, if you're with us online and you're interested into learning more about Makers, learning more about us as a school or our education philosophy, and if you're interested in joining, stick around, and there will be a Q&A of about 30 minutes with me and Ines from the admissions team if you want to learn more about Makers. Cool. So if you're with us tonight, you probably know a little bit about Makers already. You will know that it's a 16-week bootcamp to learn coding and software engineering. It's quite an intense learning experience, and over the course of the 4 months here, people joining go from knowing basically nothing about coding, or maybe just like some coding basics, to being able to like build, deploy, plan full web projects that they can then deploy and see in the world. So I'm going to say a few words directly to the cohort. Is that we haven't seen the project yet, but I can already say to all the 12 of you that you can be extremely proud of all the work and the efforts that you have achieved over the past months. Because even if you're not like a software engineer yourself, even if you're not, actually, if you're not from the tech industry, you might be seeing like software engineering and coding as, you know, this like...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, little technical problem on the audio. Hopefully that's fine now. I was saying, if you don't know anything about the tech industry, you might see coding as like this weird thing where people type on their own in their laptop in the dark some cryptic code, and then, you know, Amazon happens, Facebook happens, Twitter happens, your bank system happens, and the whole world of software that we use today happens. There's a bit of that, but there's so much more to that. And if you were to ask developers in the room tonight, they will tell you that they've learned surely technical things like Ruby, JavaScript, test-driven development, databases, web applications, HTTP, and all those nice things, Git. But they will also tell you all the stuff that we don't see, which is also the human aspect of it, which is how to work in a team, how to be vulnerable, how to ask for feedback or to give feedback, how to manage maybe conflicts in the team when we have disagreements with each other, which are all the things that we tend to call soft skills as if they were less important, where actually they really make the difference between someone who can code and who can, yes, build something with code, but then make the difference to and really get you to the point where you actually can function in a team. And that's what really employers want to see. And that's the most important part of the job. So there's that as well, which is quite massive to learn, especially in 3 months. But then you also have to account for the human aspect, which is with yourself, what we call the growth mindset and Makers, which is every day for 3 months during this quite intense learning experience, waking up and maybe doubting yourself and maybe thinking, oh, can I do this? Am I able to do this? Am I able to learn all these things, or should I sometimes just give up? And I'm sure that all developers going through that experience maybe experience those doubts, but they're all here today. They've all done amazing work. They can all be super proud of themselves. And as we say at Makers often, it's not hard, it's new. I'm sure that they will say that it's the case, like anyone can do it. And so before we get into the presentations and we see what they've been doing in the past 2 weeks, I think we can all give them like a big round of applause, either virtually or in person, for the work that they've done. So enough of me talking. We're going to go to the first team project today, which is a game. So I'm not going to say any more about this. I'm going to let the first team, Lightcycle, present their projects.
Yeah, we'll stop out for now. Okay, so hello everyone, welcome. We are Lightcycle. As you can see, there are 4 names on the screen, if Robin doesn't come with them. And there are 4 humans in front of you, and I'll go ahead and name them. We have George, we got Robin, we got Mike, and we have myself, Henry. So I guess what the question on everyone's mind is, what is Lightcycle? And I think the best way to describe such a manner is to let George take it away.
Hey guys, I'm going to be doing a walkthrough for our light cycle app on the computer. So as you can see, here is the main menu. We have our title at the top and our 3 buttons. When you hover over the buttons, you can see that we have lightly animated them to show off a little bit better. And for our 3 options, we have player versus AI, player versus player, and online. If I click on the player versus AI button, I'm going to be taken into the game and I'll be playing versus a simple computer. Here you can see that we are in the game and I lost as I collided with the computer, and I've been taken now to this menu telling me that player 2 has won. I'm given the option to either play again or return to the main menu. If I now return to the main menu, I'm taken back here, and now I'm going to click on player versus player. I've got Henry here to play with me, both on the same computer. So if I click on this, we've now been taken into the game, and both of us are now playing on the same computer. It's going to tell us that player 2 won as I collided into his wall. I can play again, which I'll click on here now. As you can see, we've taken straight back into the game. And so with that, player 2 won again. I'm going to return now to the main menu. Our final option is to go online. As you can see now on the right-hand side of your screen, we have a recording of Henry's screen on his computer.
So there we go, just so that you can quickly see. So this would have been playing at the same time to show both perspectives. Sadly, it didn't work this time, but as you can see, you can fairly
It does
quickly-
work, and
yeah. So we'll just leave it at that for now. So as with all projects, we have to first decide how we came up with it. We had several good ideas for games. Might be a little bit difficult to see on some of them, so I'll just pick out a couple. We decided to try a couple of like simple concepts, such as a Wikipedia racing game, which Robin was a huge fan of. And we could have also made a poker type app or a tower defense game. Then we kind of thought about, what about something that would be a bit more challenging for us, something with a lot more features. So we decided to steal some IP, such as Worms, as well as a restaurant game, such as Overcooked. But we soon figured out that was a bit too large in scope, and we'd be bogged down and mired by lots of different features that we wanted to add. So we decided to just keep it simple, but keep it challenging. And so we settled on Light Cycle. Thankfully, with Light Cycle, it is inspired by the movie Tron. So we had a very good idea how it was going to look like and how the rules were going to affect themselves. So we had a mock-up very quickly, and this also helps us inform how the game was going to work, as I said just a moment ago. And we also realized how we could integrate it into a mobile app, which was a key thought for us, as we can see here. With an earlier project that we did as part of Makers, we realized that there was an engineering project that we had to do. It was, I believe it was called Acebook. And we were given a simple stack just to be as a starting block, as well as a clear idea of what we wanted to do. With this engineering project, because we were building it from the ground up, we had to kind of see that all ourselves. So we found that it was quite imperative for us to all bring some ideas to the table so we could understand how we want to take this project forward. And as you can see, creating a mobile app was always at the forefront. And we also had a couple of things such as full integration with PC and the basic thing of all, keep it fun and keep it code intensive. But that's enough from me. I'm going to hand this over to my co-worker, Mike, who will talk about the development.
So MVP part of our project, it was just single play on same laptop, so just local play. When we finished this part, we decided to add additional features. It was multiplayer on the same device, and we decided to create a React Native app. It's just like a copy of our application, but on a mobile phone, so you can use Android or iOS phones for this. And third part, it was real online, so it's we need server for this, and different players from different devices from different parts of the world can use our application in the same time and play together. So what we use for this? First part, it was our main application was used React and our backend server use Node.js with WebSocket. So our mobile app, it's a React Native. It's an additional library for React, and our styles, it's a pure CSS without any additional libraries. And we can continue with Robin.
So this is a video of the mobile app coming up. It's a fairly simple port straight from the web app. React Native is very similar to React. There's some differences in how you actually output to a screen. So React obviously is for web and React Native is for mobile screen. So there are some differences in how it's styled. So the styling didn't unfortunately make it across in time, but here we have what we managed to port across.
So the first thing we see is the same menu that you have on the web app. You can navigate to player versus AI. This will allow the red, that's you, player with the touch controls to play a random generation move bot in the blue. Looks like the red one here. You can restart the game from the menu and you get a different set of moves. This game actually went on a long time, so I'll cut this short. You also have online, same menu as you do with the web app. You can also join the exact same web server from the mobile app, create a game or host a game, or join a game. That point onwards, it gets a bit buggier. The reason for that is that the mobile development app that you used to create the game was all we had access to at this stage. We didn't manage to deploy a full app. And so you see that it's very laggy. So what we actually done here is we've set the game tick speed to 1.5 seconds. This allows the mobile development app to actually play against a computer. So right now, the mobile app is controlling the red player and the blue player is being controlled by Henry on a computer. So it's actually pretty cool. At this point, the red player decides it's had enough and wants to crash into itself. And so you can see that you get the same error message, same end message as you do on the mobile app. And that's about all there is to the app at this stage.
And that's also about all there is to the presentation material. In summary, we were pretty happy with how this worked out. Henry, whilst he was sat next to me, he could have been sat in Australia, and that was pretty cool for us. So we managed to deploy the back-end game on the core game on a server that you could then connect to with WebSocket. We used WebSocket because WebSocket is quick. It enables a bi-directional TCP link. So that's really interesting. Where we felt we could have probably done better was it was quite difficult to test this project. We got so many new packages, so many new environments that we didn't actually manage to fully test it that well. And in terms of future features, we would have loved to have deployed the mobile app and get it styled, but we ran out of time. But I think we're all intensely proud and happy with what we did. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks to the first team for presenting, and to now downplay the work that they've done. It might seem like there's a bit of unfinished work with the mobile app, but just to remind you that they've done this work in less than 2 weeks, 9 days of full work, maybe 7 days of work. So that's quite impressive. So yeah, thank you and congratulations for your work. Cool. So yeah, I can't wait to have the Android version to be able to play during these gloomy winter months of no sun. Speaking about gloomy winter months, is anyone doing dry January? Have you heard of that? Yeah. So I didn't know that before moving to the UK. That's a concept that is quite new to me. But if you're doing dry January, you're going to love the next project. So Team 0% Brews, that's up to you.
All right, so we are 0% Brews. I'll briefly introduce the team. So we have from left to right on the screen, we have Tom Fife, we have Joe Lander, myself, I'm Alistair, and Aiden Roller. So when we were coming up with ideas, we were thinking of many things, but we also wanted to build something that was relevant, useful, but also addresses a specific market gap. And the idea that we kept coming back to was non-alcoholic beer. Because we're building this in January, a lot of the talk is around dry Jan. So that's many people looking to reduce or cut completely their alcohol consumption during the month after a busy holiday period. And so that brought us to non-alcoholic beer, doing something in that space. We were thinking that there's not a lot of information out there in the market for non-alcoholic beer. People don't know what drinks there are. They don't know if their favorite brewer even makes an alcohol-free version. Also, the information that is out there tends to be weighted to be overly negative. So everybody knows somebody who's tried a non-alcoholic beer and said that it tastes like water or worse. So we thought we would build something that addresses this market gap that helps both the consumers and producers of non-alcoholic beer. I'm going to hand it over to Aiden, who's going to give an overview of the project.
Thanks, Alistair. So in light of all of this, we decided to build 0% Brews, which currently is a web platform where users can get information about alcohol-free and low-alcohol beers and ciders. They can also rate them and add comments to them as well to share their experience with other people. And they can create their own personal list. They can save them and refer back to them whenever they need to get the information again, save them in the supermarket or brought them home and they want to read up about beers they've saved as well. In terms of how we built it, so we decided to use the MERN stack. We chose that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we thought it was the most suitable kind of group of technologies for the type of platform we wanted to build. Secondly, at Makers, we had one previous experience with this tech stack a couple of weeks before, and we wanted to go deeper in terms of each of the languages involved, but also really push for like a high quality kind of code that we were really kind of proud of and that we could, really feel like we can show to other people. And the other thing that was important for us was getting the app hosted. So in our kind of first few days working on the app, we decided to host both our API and our front end with continuous deployment as well. And that was quite a rewarding experience for the team because whenever we merged code into production, we had like a live link that we could share with friends and family, and they could see the product as it was like evolving as we were releasing new features over the time. And that was quite motivating for the team as well. And last but not least, in terms of our like quest for like code quality and squashing bugs, we did a lot of testing. So we used testing tools and frameworks like Postman and Jest and Cypress throughout the projects. I'm now going to hand over to Tom, who's going to talk about how we work together as a team.
Hello. So the collaborative design tools we use, they were Miro, Miro for doing like least technical drawings and concept. We use Figma, which was good for doing mocks of page styling. So once we were happy with the design, we had to plan how we were going to take on the task. So we planned the project using Trello, I'm sure you all know, and we broke it down into 3 sprints. So then each sprint could be put into manageable chunks, then each chunk can be put into manageable tasks. So we would refer to these as versions 1, 2, and 3. So daily, it would be each morning we'd have a stand-up to discuss the day ahead and importantly, how everyone was feeling and if there were any new ideas or concerns. We really wanted this to be like an imposter syndrome free area when anyone could come with any question. There were no stupid questions. It was really productive. So over half of the project was actually completed remotely. So obviously Slack would be our main method of communication. And we found the record screen function great for clearly and quickly sharing any new info into the channel without having to schedule a call, which saved loads of time. Also, we set reminders for pull requests like twice a day. And of course, our version control was GitHub. So this all led to a very smooth, remote working practice. And so, yeah, in a second, I'm going to hand you over to Joe. But before that, as Aiden said earlier, you see the website is fully deployed. So you can scan that QR code if you're watching at home, or if you have your device, you can go to 0%brews.com. And you can check out the site as Joe runs through some of the features.
So I'll give you a second while I move to the left, if you don't mind. I mean, you see our numbers go. Right, I'm going to wait a minute. Let's. Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Right, I want to see real names as well. Right, I'm going on as well. I want to see these.
Everyone can sign up.
Right, who's on the database? I want to see these numbers going up. Right, thanks very much for that. Right, so what I'm going to do is you've actually been able to see it firsthand and have a little go with that and see it's deployed. But run through our video presentation. So let's have a look. So since release 2, our site has been deployed and available for any user to access information on these beers. That allowed us to do user testing and refine the site. And as you can see, we're now ready. You've been using version 3. Okay. So just you saw it on mobile, many of you, but we did set out to make sure it was responsive across any device. Okay. So we've got it for all different versions. We focused on getting users to be able to filter results based on the things that are actually useful to them. So you saw most like locale and then the types of alcohol you'd have. But we also threw in staff recommendations for those people that want to get there really quickly. But of course, once someone finds something they want, something they like, so for example, like the San Miguel beer we've got here, we had a much larger breakdown all on our back ends that you could get to. Version 3 became different though with sign up. This was the major thing that changed from version 2 to 3. Once you're into this section, we then were able to let you be able to actually join a community and vote on the different beers that you would be able to do. So there was a real reason to do that. And also user experience is important. So we added the account page here. So only you can access that information there. Security wise, if your password is compromised, you would be able to go in and change that. Okay. And also you can see password updated there. We added user feedback throughout. Also, the ability to save a beer was something important. We felt once you found the beer, that's all well and good, but you go to the shop and you're going to need to come back to that. Obviously, then once you've tasted that beer and you think actually that was nowhere near as nice as everyone on the platform said, you want to be able to unsave that beer as well. Okay, not always as you'd like. And then we felt the big deal here was comments. So as you can see, I'm the happy path. I'm logging in. I found a beer that I liked. I like that, and I actually want to leave a comment based on my experience. So we felt comments along with voting was how we were going to scale our site. Okay, and so yeah, I just think basically from here at this point on, that was the best way to go about it. But yes, yeah, make sure that you pass this on to other people. I think we've got about 8 users now. We'd like to see that rise soon. Thank you very much. Oh, we have nothing else to do. What again? We'll just leave you there. Right.
There is one more slide.
You get to it.
We'll not.
Oh,
There we
wow.
go. Again, thanks, Leah. We're done.
Thanks, Tim. Super project. Like I might. It's only the 13th of the month, so I might do the second half of the month right January. I'm going to try that San Miguel 0%. Cool. So it's really cool. Now we've got like a fully online website to be able to search for alcohol-free beers. It would be cool to have like something else to be able to find where to drink it, because London is filled with pubs or other like places. Well, guess what? We got a third project tonight, so I'm gonna let them roll.
Hello, welcome. This is the demo for Tipsy Tourist, a pub crawler app that matches tourists with pubs and plots the route along the way.
this was an idea that came into being whilst we were frequenting the local tavern after a long day of coding. And I guess we didn't think it would ever come into fruition, but fast forward a month and it's amazing just to see it come to life. I think we can all be really proud of the outcome that we achieved. And in only 8.5 days, we managed to build an app and overcame tons of challenges, which we'll go into detail of. First things first, we should kick things off with a quick demo.
Welcome to Tick Tutorial, a new topical planning app. When you load the page, you're presented with a Google map with scroll around and search bar. The default mode is walking. In order to plot a route, you simply input the location provided in the search bar. There are some suggested locations provided. We'll go turn to shallower. You can also increase the number of stops that you're choosing. To plot a route, press the Plan Digital button and route to spot the screen. Some extra information is provided at the bottom. Okay, so after you've made a search, if you wanted to initiate another search, first use this button here to clear the route. That also empties the search fields. So if we were to go ahead with another search, Kew Gardens to Python. Okay, so with this result, we get this error message saying that the route's been shortened. Essentially, one of the requests didn't come back with a bubble from that point. So, instead of increasing the search radius and sending us further off track, we've just omitted that location and dropped the number of stopping points down. So, another feature we can show here through a search for these two locations. This is what happens when an API search for an image for a location doesn't come back with any results. We get this placeholder image, which is the tutorial logo. Okay, so as you can see, there are multiple icons for your travel method. You can toggle between the car icon and the car icon is going to go up with this and providing you with this Apple free packages link. Also, as you'll notice, the cost is capped at 1. You can look at the accounts to packages. But for this on this link, you follow text is second point of trading, you still want to Now I'm just going to show you what happens if we plot routes that isn't feasible to London to New York. We get this heavy on the message telling us that there's no final routes found. Now I'm just going to switch back to driving, and I'm going to go to from London again to Edinburgh, for example. And I'll plan my service rule. And there you go.
Okay, so the final route we're going to show you today is a cycling route from Chelsea, London to Limehouse. And as you can see, as soon as we selected the cycling route, it gave us a warning not to drink and cycle and limited the number of pubs we could visit. So that should be plotted on the map in a sec. There we go. As you probably noticed down the bottom, we've got a selection of cards, each with the location on. They've got the location name and its image. And if you press the little I button, it gives us a bit more information, such as the rating out of 5, the telephone number and address, sometimes another image, and a hyperlink so you can visit the website. You can also use this button here to close that down and hide the image card. We've also included a number of other features to enhance the user experience. These are a recenter button, which takes us back to the starting place of the map. We've also got a maximize button, which we can use to maximize the map. There we go.
I hope you can all hear me okay. That was our finished product. How did we get there? Once we got this amazing idea, we kind of had to break it down into a set of user stories that you can see on the left of the screen. We thought about what a user might like to get out of the app. So we decided that they might like to be able to set a start and end point of their choice, see a route plotted on a map, and also see a list of the pubs and attractions that they might like to visit on the way, perhaps with a bit of extra information. Once we've done that, we moved on to thinking about how we might code our minimum viable product, that is our most basic version of the app that we would think a user might like to use. So for that, we decided to let the user have a start location and an end location and be able to plot a route between those points, see that route on a screen, and then just see a list of their pubs along the way. We actually managed to achieve that fairly early on in the first week, which is great because that gave us a lot more time to think about the additional features we might like to add and actually had time to do those, as you can see in the finished product we've got. I'm going to pass back to the studio now, where Tim will talk to you about the tech stack we used and the product tools we used to create this app.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly take you through the tech stack that we used. We used a Kern tech stack, which is very similar to the MERN that all of the cohort has used. So we just dropped the MongoDB and we added Chakra. So JavaScript was the language that we chose to work with, and we used Node and Express, Node to run the backend and Express to handle the routing. So Chakra is like a new technology for all of us that we had to get to grips with, and it made styling much easier, in our opinion. We also used React to render the page dynamically, which proved incredibly useful. And obviously, we relied very heavily on the Google APIs to get all of the information we needed for our website.
So this is, believe it or not, a simplified view of how our API calls are made. It's still quite complicated. Every time someone types in the search bar, an API call is made to search for autocompletes. Every time someone plots a route, several API calls are made to the direction service and to the places API. Every time someone requests more information, another API call is made. And every time an image is loaded, another API call is made. In total, we're using 4 different Google API calls, and we spent about 250 quid of free credit on API calls. On the right is a typical graph of a few days for one person's API calls, although it's not exactly typical because there is a spike in the middle that we'll come back to in a few moments.
Thanks for that, Will. Okay, so challenges that we've overcome. So obviously, like everyone else, we started our project remote in the first week, but we didn't find that to be too much of an issue because we had very regular catch-ups and we always reached out whenever we had an issue. So Chakra was obviously a new technology, and there wasn't much material for it on the internet, so we couldn't really rely on Stack Overflow that much. And often when we Googled stuff relating to Chakra, such as aligning our text, the results were a bit more spiritual than we'd hoped for. Also, at the start of this project, we were very conscious that we didn't want to push any API keys to GitHub. Unfortunately, that happened anyway. My API key was pushed, but that's been deleted now, so that's in the past. Another thing that we were also conscious of was not having API calls in an infinite loop. We also failed at doing that, and we managed to churn through about £30 in a minute. I'll hand over to Ian.
Okay.
So this is just a final slide to sort of summarize the final features, which we've already demonstrated. But at this point, we would take questions. I think we're going to finish there at this point. So thank you very much for listening. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
Cool. Thanks a lot to this last team. And again, I think we can give a big round of applause to each of the 3 teams that presented tonight. Again, I'm going to repeat myself, but you can all be super proud of all the work you've done, not only on these last 2 weeks, but over the past like 4 months at your time with us at Makers. Over the years, Makers have existed. There's been this very like ritualistic demo day where people have come when graduating, and today they're senior software engineers, their CTOs, their technical leads, maybe they've created their own companies since. And so you're going to find a job after that. And I'm really excited to see where you go and what will be your career path after that in a few months and years going down the line. So yeah, thanks to you. And thank you to everyone who joined either in person today or on site. If you're with us in the building today and like me, these last few presentations gave you a bit of thirst, there are some like both non-alcoholic and alcoholic beverages for you to get a bit of a refreshment. And if you're online with us, you can stay for the Q&A with Ines in a minute and we'll answer any of your questions. That's it for tonight. Thank you again for joining and have a lovely evening.
Hi everyone. Hope you're all still here. Hope you enjoyed the presentations. So we'll just start like with a Q&A. I'll wait just a couple of minutes for Leo to come back. If you have any technical related questions, and then you can use the chat box to write your question and we'll just read it out and try and help you. Leo is back. So yeah, my name is Inez and I'm one of the core sales managers here at Makers. Basically, I deal with all the people who come to us looking to do the academy course, and then I'll help them with that journey of the application process until the enrollment on the course. And Leo is one of our coaches, as you already know. So Leo, do you want to just say a little bit about yourself, or you want to just get started? Oh, can you hear us, Leo?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
sorry. I was just like struggling a bit with my headphones and Bluetooth. Bluetooth never works out of the box.
That's okay. I think we already have a question.
Cool. I think I can take that one. So
yeah,
why is Ruby taught when none of the projects use Ruby, or is Ruby better used in different contexts? That's a great question. Hopefully there's not much like background noise and you can hear me fine. Otherwise I'll just move to another room. But so the reason why we use Ruby for the first sort of half of the course is that Ruby is quite a simple language to start with. It doesn't have a lot of like, I guess you could say that it reads almost as English, and it's like quite simple to pick up when you want to learn about the basic and fundamental software engineering concepts. And you can really focus on those concepts without having the language getting too much in the way. Whereas, for example, JavaScript could be a slightly more complex language, and maybe other languages like C or C++ would be even more complex because they come with that sort of like bag of like own complexity, and it becomes harder to focus really on the fundamentals. Because what we want to do is to teach to our students the fundamental of software engineering, with still being a bit language agnostic, and then they can move to another language. So later in the course, they learn JavaScript, which is a different language. And so they learn not only that language, but they also learn what is the process and like methodology to learn the second language. Now I know the first one. So it's a bit like when you're learning a second spoken language, you know already the concept, but you just need sort of like to know how to translate and how the grammar is different. It's a bit of a similar thing. And then later on, it becomes easier to pick your third language or your fourth language. And we really encourage them to pick either JavaScript or either a third language that they haven't like learned in the course. And sometimes in demo days, it's not rare to find that teams pick up some different languages like Python or Java, and they kind of like learn it on their own because now they have this like process of learning. So hopefully that did answer the question.
Thank you, Leo. I think we have another one. I can take the first bit of the question and you can take the other two because I think our more up your alley. So yeah, we do have a program which is part of the government funded, which is our DFP program, which is a partnership with the Department of Education of the UK government. Those are fully funded spaces on basically a course that is exactly the same as the students that you just saw, 16 weeks long. You'll have the same curriculum, almost basically the same job support at the end for the first 6 months. And yeah, do you want to talk a bit about the support?
Yeah, sure. I can talk about what the coach support looks like on the course. So it varies a bit depending on the sort of phases of the bootcamp. In the first 4 weeks, which we call the pre-course, which is mainly individual work and mainly remote, coach support is mainly here to like help going through the different tasks and exercises and challenges that is a lot self-directed, because a lot of people are still sort of like wrapping up their previous jobs and doing a bit of other things on part-time. So it's not a fully immersive course. When it comes to the fully immersive course, which is then the 12 remaining weeks, mainly coaches, what we call coaches office hours are mainly in the morning, which is where if you're remote, you can drop in a Zoom call and coaches will be here to help you depending on whether you need to be unstuck on some problem you're facing. Maybe you have a general question about your learning or some technical concepts that you want to know more about, or maybe any other things that you need ad hoc support on. So coaches would be available, and if you're on site, coaches will be available on site as well. So it would be mainly in the morning. And then depending on whether you would need sort of like more support, maybe sort of like an individual learning plan, maybe if you're having some difficulties with some concepts or some modules, there might be one or more coaches sort of like assigned to you and following up with you with an individual learning plan and trying to like check in maybe every few days or every week, depending on how much support you need to get you sort of like back on track and maybe have a differentiated like way of learning. Hopefully that doesn't serve the question. I can say as well that the coach support usually is fading a bit as the bootcamp goes, because often like students become more independent into their learning, and they're able to pick new technologies and to face bugs and issues and resolve them by themselves better, because they get more experience and they get better at finding information by themselves. But sometimes they still need, obviously, the need for like support depending on what that is. So coaches are also here to give ad hoc support even during the last 2 weeks of final projects.
Thank you, Leo. I can take a question from Elizabeth, which is very much up our alley as well. So Elizabeth, this is still a very men-dominated industry, and that's one of the things that Makers is tackling. So we want more women, we want more diversity in this industry, and that's one of the reasons why we do our programs, because we want the industry to be represented by all of us, independent of our gender, race, and everything. So I don't know from the top of my head exact stats on that, but what I would say is that we do receive a lot of applications per week, even from women, but of course more from men. But then is up to each individual to go through the application process and to really commit to that time that it takes to do more specifically the initial process of the application, which is to complete Code Academy and Code Wars, which is the bit that takes a bit more time to do. So once candidates are through that stage, it would make it easier then to go through Code Byte challenge and to the interview. So normally it's not really from the gender difference to not pass through those stages. Is just the commitment that the individual actually puts into, and generally we have more male applications for something like this. Yes. Do you want to add anything to this, Leo?
No, thanks. I think as you said everything. Yeah, I think it's very much like a work in progress, and we still have a lot of like work to do as well as a school and as a learning community to improve that.
Yeah. Okay, another question from Natasha. I think that's up to you, Leo.
Yeah, I can definitely take that one. Do students go on to work with other tech stacks that do not include Ruby? Yeah, definitely they do. Again, as part of the sort of like learning, we really encourage them. So they pick a second language, which is JavaScript, and then we sort of encourage them to pick either for their final project or maybe later on after the course when they work on their own projects, when applying for jobs, to pick maybe a different language. And our philosophy is really not only to like teach technical things and technical skills by themselves, but also to really teach you how to teach yourself like new technologies they want to pick and how to find the resources, the people, anything that can help you, and to have like a sort of structured process to go through different steps and set yourself goals. So it's very common that even beyond the course, students learn a different tech stack, and maybe they learn it as part of a job application because they need to learn it, or maybe they're gonna apply and on their first job sort of like learn and pick up this different language as well, because that's something that you can transfer as well. If you learn to use a language, you can surely transfer different things and learn on the go as well while building something. So it's not really a disadvantage at all, and it's very common that they go to work on other tech stacks as well. I can't really give like data. That would be more, I guess, something that careers coaches and the team sort of like coaching people looking for jobs would know about, but yeah, I'm sure that they will say something similar.
Thank you, Leo. I think the next one is also for you, how the students deal with frustration if they don't understand certain aspects.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very much part of the learning process as well. And I think that's also a skill, a human skill that you sort of build up. Like, it's very common that when you start coding, especially when you don't have a lot of process and knowledge, you feel very frustrated because, oh, you're going to get some error messages or some bugs or something you don't know, and you feel really frustrated and very powerless. But actually, as you go through the course, as you learn more and as you build more your skills and your process, you tend to start to see these different things more as like signals to help you know what's wrong and what you need to change. And the frustration kind of like diminishes because you get more confident and you know that eventually you're going to get it, and you get more of that technical confidence, and you know where to look for help, what to look for support, what to look for resources online, what to search on Google, things like this. So there's very much still frustration sometimes, even for experienced developers like me, even after like years of working in the field, you still get some frustration, but you know a bit more on how to manage it. So coaches are here to support for that. The cohort, I think, is a really good resource, like the support and the help that you get from other people in the cohort, but also there's the whole emotional intelligence and EQ part of the curriculum with Dana and other coaches will help you to build all those soft skills like and look after your well-being, and all the other skills that are not really technical, but that help you build that resilience as well. That is really important. So yeah, all different ways that you can deal with frustration and learn how to manage it.
And I think the other one from Pablo is also for you, Leo.
Yeah, do groups ever end up coding the end project using Ruby on Rails? So I think it tended to be more common before. I think now, much like the tech industry landscape, I think it changed quite a bit especially over the past few years. So I think that there used to be a bit more people using Rails. Now there's more people using React or like a main stack, like you've seen at least 2 projects of the 3. And if you watch recent demo days, you're going to see that the main stack is quite popular nowadays. Maybe in like a year or 2, there's going to be a different stack that's going to sort of take over and be more popular. So again, the important, I think, it's not the framework or the tech stack that you're using. You should see it sort of as like a vehicle for the learning and to learn more high-level concepts that then you can transfer to other languages or other stacks. And obviously, this gets like easier as you broaden your knowledge and you sort of like pick up more stacks. I like to speak about often what we call T-shape people, because essentially I think that's the kind of developers and learners that we want to have at Makers, is people who have like a very broad sort of like basic knowledge on different tech stacks and technology, but then might end up specializing in one area that they particularly like, or maybe it's what they're working in. So I think if you're trying to really keep your eye open and be always curious of the different technologies, you can sort of again build that skill of like rapidly being able to pick up. So a very long-winded answer just to say that not much of Rails, but that doesn't have much importance. It used to be more common in the past years. Now it's React. Tomorrow that's going to be something different. But yeah, that's what it is.
Thank you, Leo. So I have another question. Is the course fully remote? Is it available on a part-time basis, or is a full 16-week course? So basically the course is split in two parts. The week 1 to week 4 is what we call the pre-course, which is a self-led, fully remote period. The coaches will reach out to you on a Monday morning. They'll give you all the materials and things that you need for the week, and you'll just work out through that time according to your own circumstances. So if you want to spread out the work during the week, you can. If you want to just do everything, you also can do that. And then from week 5 to week 16 is the full-time period, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5:30. And here is where the delivery of the course might change depending on the cohort you choose. So imagine my next cohort starts on the 13th of March, and that's hybrid on online delivery, meaning that week 1 to week 4, always remote. Week 5 until week 16, the coaches will encourage you to go in 6 weeks. So the first 2 weeks of the full time, 2 weeks in the middle, and the last 2 weeks. But you can always choose to stay remote as well if that suits you best. Or you have as well for example, I have a boot camp starting next Monday on the 16th, and that's a DFE program, so that's fully remote as well. But we'll also be looking to change this delivery, so we are looking for a more face-to-face approach. So maybe May will be our cohort, which will be different again. So it really depends on the cohort you choose for this. I hope that answers your question, PM. Leo, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think you've said it all. So nothing else from my side. Thanks.
Okay, could you give some more details about career support available? What's next for the people who have seen presenting today? Yeah, so basically they did their demo day today, and next Monday they'll be enrolling to a whole new journey, which is the job hunters. And that's basically where they'll be assigned a mentor. That person will be with them for the moment they graduate to the moment they get the job, CVs, cover letters. Every time they get an interview, they get notified, so you can practice your interview with them. And then you have also 2 other teams who'll be there to help. So tech coaches like Leo. So if you finished your cohort a while ago and you want to just have your tech skills reviewed because you've been working on some projects by your own, you can ask a tech coach to review it and they'll give you some feedback. And also, last but not least, the partnership team, which is a team full of people who is constantly looking out for companies who are looking to hire software developers, and they'll bring them in. They'll do lunchtime talks every single week. So is a Zoom setting, you'll have the company doing a pitch about themselves and what they're looking to hire in the next software developers. And you'll also have once a quarter careers fair. So you'll have access to all of the jobs that comes through our hiring partners, and that this team is also constantly looking out for. I hope this answers everything in your question, Natasha. Leo, I don't know if you have anything else to add to this.
I think that was a very comprehensive answer. Basically workshops, and then really support for anything, cover letters, CV, interviews, build your interviewing skills, because obviously there's not only the technical skills, maybe you need a bit more support into human communication, or interviewing skills and selling your profile to employers. So that's all things that you get support, and that the students that you've seen today will get support at evaluating alongside all the events like the clients fair, lunchtime talks, and everything organized by the partnerships team. So yeah, it really varies. There's a lot of different ways to get support.
Cool. And a question from Pablo. On the DFE funded course, do you ever go into makers, even if it's just for an intro, or it's absolutely 100% remote? So the course itself is 100% remote for DFE. And what this means is that your support, so your main support from the coaches, will also be remote. And you'll have Slack, which is our internal main of communication, which is very immediate. So you won't feel necessarily alone because you'll have everyone from your cohort, your coaches. So even if you are at home and you're like, oh, I'm doing this alone and I'm stuck and I don't know what to do, they're there. They're there to help you. They'll teach you what you can do if you're feeling stuck on the certain situation. If you just want to go into the office because you're just tired of being at home and you just want to go in there and have a different environment for like a week or 2 days, whatever it is, you can talk with one of the coaches or check with someone from our staff team to see if you can get a desk at the office, and that's absolutely fine. They can help you with that. Do you want to add anything else, Leo?
I think that's so good. Yeah, for DFE courses, like the delivery is mainly remote first, so that all the sessions are run on Zoom and everything happens on Slack and Zoom. But yeah, if you sort of happen to like live nearby the office, or you just want to commute to the office to meet us in person, definitely do it. We're like very friendly and very welcoming. So yeah, there's like I'm in the office a lot of the time, but some coaches come depending on the day. So maybe you can check in with us when you want to come and see who's in and just like come to meet us in person. But yeah, definitely feel free to join if you want.
Cool. I don't think we have any other questions for now. Oh, wow, big one. I think that's right up your alley, Leo.
Yeah, I can sort of start giving answer to that one. So although like what is the support makers offer to students with learning disabilities or learning needs like dyslexia, ADHD, or others, yeah. So it's definitely something that we're still working on. I know that we have some resources, some tips, some tools to help people who have dyslexia, for example, go through the course. So I think that that's something that we give sometimes, that we sort of go back to people as well. We're still like very much in the work of supporting better people with ADHD, for example, or different learning needs. So I think what that looks like now is more like a sort of like closer support and maybe like more regular one-to-ones to, for example, ask you if you know what works best for you, any resources. So for example, if you prefer videos over text, or if you have a specific way of working or collaborating with others or interacting with others that works best for you. So we'll definitely try to have closer discussions with that student and know a bit more how we can do things differently and maybe adapt the course differently for you. So it's not like a fixed process and like sort of fixed answer, but that will really depend on the student and on what are the specific needs. But again, that's still something that we're working to improve to better support people with learning disabilities or needs. So hopefully that answers part of the question.
Thank you, Leo. And I think this question from Natasha is also for you. How many coaches teach throughout the course, and is the same coaches remote and in person?
Yeah, so when it comes to the academy bootcamp specifically, so DFE or non-DFE, there's about 5-6 coaches maybe, and usually coaches would be assigned for a cohort for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how scheduling goes. And there would be like there's no like specific coaches for remote or on site. It can really vary depending on again the scheduling. So for example, I could be with this cohort on site 2 weeks, but then next week I will be working manually remotely with a different cohort, and then the coaches sort of like switch to different cohorts like this. So it's likely that if you get in a cohort, remote or on site, you're going to have 4 or 5 different coaches over your time at Makers through different weeks.
Thank you, Leo. Okay, I think we don't have any more questions now. Maybe let's wait 1 more minute to see if anything else comes through. I think I can add, like, because I've seen a couple of questions from DFE here. So if you're looking to do something like the DFE program, which is a great opportunity, if you don't have like the 8.5K to put up front, that's absolutely fine, but it is a great opportunity and is there for people who actually need this. So definitely have a look at the eligibility criteria that we have everything on support on our website, see if you meet and fill up an application, and then make sure you commit to the process. Our next boot camp for that is starting on the 13th of February, and we don't have any others confirmed after that. So definitely, if you're looking for something like that, keep that in mind. That's okay, Natasha. Thank you so much. Okay, I don't think we have more questions, Leo, and we can just wrap up. Thank you, Pablo. Have a great weekend too. Okay, should we wrap up here then, Leo? Okay, cool. So thank you everyone for joining. So yeah, thank everyone for joining. Hope you have lovely weekends, and I hope to see your applications coming through. Have a good weekend.
Thanks everyone for joining.